Okay, so welcome everybody to our 25 days on the Chobe webinar. We appreciate that you took some time out of your busy schedule to spend the evening with us. And I'm Monique. I will be hosting tonight's webinar with the rest of the CNP tour leaders, and we are very happy that you all made it. If there's any questions at the end of the webinar, we will make a short time to answer questions, so please post that on the chat and we will look into them. Over the previous 2 months, we spent 25 days consecutively on the Chobe River. We were there from the 21st of March until the 14th of April for our annual Jacana season safaris. So over the last 25 days, we had 6 groups on the trips. We had our 3 tour leaders there, and we did about 50 boat sessions. And between our 3 tour leaders, we shot about 171,000 photographs. So it was a very productive and a busy time on the Chobe River. So tonight we're going to be sharing with you some of the unforgettable moments, the rare sightings, and some of the stories of nature that we saw during our time on the Chobe River. So for tonight, we will be 4 people joining as host of this webinar. It will be myself, Neil Cooper, CEO, Niku and Ilana, 2 of our other tour leaders. Let's start just by giving a quick overview of our photography boats that we use as a platform during our time on the Chobe River. These boats are built by photographers for photographers. So as you can see, we've got the photographic chairs that is situated in the middle of a flat bottom boat. They can revolve 360 degrees and each has their own gimbal head. From there, you can then photograph in all directions. We decided to keep the boat open without a roof, as this obstructs our view when we want to do bird photography. This is the boats that we use, and this is the platforms that we use. So to start off tonight, we're going to start with Nico, and he's going to be sharing some of his special memories from this trip. So enjoy.
Hello, everyone. I hope that you're doing well. Thank you so much for joining us on this webinar. Hopefully everyone can join us on a future trip. Let's just keep it that way, short. So to entice you a little bit, let's first start with the reason why we go. As we all know, during this specific time of year, it's the African Jacana's breeding season. Now, for those who do not know why this species is so special, number one, they're polyandrous. So it is 7 males to 1 female. She lays the eggs, she runs off to go and find another mate, and then dad is left with all of the duties to hatch the eggs, raise the chicks. And then, of course, the other thing that makes them so special is that they are precocial. So the little ones basically hunt for themselves from the day that they are born. Dad's there for protection, and yeah, I mean, he creates some special memories when he has the opportunity to carry them around. So this time of year, well, this year specifically, the breeding season was in full swing when I got there on the 21st of March. We didn't have as many lily pads as there were in the later stages, but we did have the opportunity to photograph the Jacana with their chicks from small to big. So let's just run through a couple of memories. So this one specifically, I thought it was framed really nicely with the lily pad that was up and the dad in the open, going over a couple of Jacanas flying. And then, of course, with their long toes, the other name for them, Jesus birds, because they walk on water, you get these beautiful, almost silk-like patterns when their feet break the water. It's spectacular. And when you are at that scene and you have the opportunity to take numerous shots, then you go from the one scene we have, as I said, the silk robe, go over to the next one, we have the beautiful break of the water and the water droplets flying everywhere. Different perspective with the male walking from the front. And then, of course, then they have the opportunities to show us the various objects that they eat and insects that they eat. So there was a lily bulb, this one taking a run in the water, and then the 2 male and female together. So just again, interesting fact for those who do not know that, to tell the difference between the male and the female is the larger of the 2 birds. So the male is always smaller than what the female is. So that's a way that you can tell the difference between the 2 of them together. Go over. Beautiful sunbreak on the side. It almost looked like it was artificially inserted. If you look at the bottom, he caught a water spider. And then this one, oddly enough, if you look closely enough, so tell this story is we saw him running on the lily pads, and then we saw that there was like a stink bug right at the bottom. So he grabbed it, and then I think it sprayed it into his mouth. So as he grabbed it, then he dropped it again. And then this is the other reasons why we start going to this, is when we actually get the opportunities to get the interaction between the parent and the chicks. So as a dad is looking after his chicks, these chicks are running around looking and fending for themselves, and they will follow the dad as he goes along as well. So it's really special when we can get numerous of them together. But this specific dad, which was quite an interesting one, was when we found his nest, he had three chicks. The day afterwards, there was only two chicks. So either a predator took it or a African fish eagle. We're not 100% sure, but it was a quite an interesting one because all of us already noticed that at that stage that this specific male has lost one of his chicks. And these ones, I probably reckon they're probably about, what, 7 days old, 6, 7 days old. Get these beautiful light breaks through the side with the dad and chicks together. And then them running together again. Scroll through these with the beautiful mirror reflections. Quickly go run through these. And as you look at the bottom of the leaf, there's a little insect that he's looking at. Followed it, and then he missed it. This one as well, as you look in the big, tiny little insect. So this is that specific male at that stage when you had the three chicks. Right. Now, during this time of year, not only do we concentrate on Jakarta chicks, but this is one of the best times of years where we have the opportunities to photograph the pygmy geese. So as those of you know, they're little pocket rockets, so extremely fast little birds. Female not as colorful as a male, but they do give us the opportunity to capture some spectacular photos of them in flight, interacting. Now, I had the, let's say, the privilege of probably getting some of the best pygmy geese photos that I've ever shot during this year's trip. I can only speak for myself when it comes to that. I know that some of the other photographers didn't get as many of them, but I really did get some spectacular photos of the interaction with them. Numerous males with females, juveniles with the parents, and some just really, really spectacular photos. So this was a really interesting one where we got pretty close to this group. There was about 5 or 6 of them together. Now, this specific male at this stage, he launched towards the side and gave a really great sequence of images with the water splashes and breaking, taking off. So the end result, I was really, really happy with. Again, flyby of a female, male and female together. This one, again, where the female, generally what you keep an eye out for is if the female takes flight, the male takes flight. So as you can see, as the female takes flight, the male takes flight. Let's go over to this one, just beautiful portrait. Now, this one was quite an interesting sequence, but I'm not going to show the entire sequence because it was probably about 120 photos in the sequence. But it was 3 of the pygmy geese together with the female on the right side and then the 2 males next to each other. And as the female took flight, then the males went. So the one went over the first one, and then the second one took flight, and then the third one was on the side. So I decided just to do the sequence with the one where as it broke the water surface and took flight towards me and then started banking towards the left and gave a really, really spectacular sequence with the pygmy geese. Not the easiest subject to follow, but again, let's just say, not going too much into the technical side, but with mirrorless camera technology allowing us to do so much more, it just gives us so much more opportunities to photograph subject matter more difficult to photograph previously, now much easier compared to then. Elephants, as we know, are a great subject, especially when it comes to the Chobe. The numbers vary throughout the year. So when it is in the flood season, they're about 50,000. And then when the river starts subsiding and the herds can start crossing and the calves can cross the water levels a lot easier without being worried about washing away, then the numbers go up to about 130,000. But during this time with the green grass and then they're able to eat it, got some really great portraits of them. And I was quite surprised that the sheer numbers of the elephant during this time of year compared to the previous year was much more than I was expecting. So we had a combination of the bull elephants in the water, but we had also the herds with small calves, oddly enough, frolicking in the water, drinking, playing. And we got some great opportunities with these young ones breaking through the water, splashing about. This one, I know it's not necessarily the best line to say, but this one almost looked like he got into a bag of flour or into some concrete. And it was just a really interesting photo at that time and gave a lot of contrast with this white powder and just the pure darkness of his skin. Great interaction with them playing in the water, splashing about. Beautiful light that time of year. Interesting angle. Now, this last one, I just want to quickly discuss a little bit, is we had these three elephants together. As you can see, the one's tusks broken. Didn't have the best light as it was just after the thunderstorm, but we got really great opportunity with the one specifically. And I love the sequence in the sense that as he stood there, and what they do is just that they grab the bottom and then they pull out the roots because they want to take it off and then clean it. But this one made a really spectacular splash as he started intertwining his trunk in those roots and created quite a splash. And then, of course, just shooting at 60 or 50 frames per second, it just makes life a little bit easier to capture these moments. So during this time, of course, we have the bee eaters on the one corner there by Savannah, which they congregate in their numbers, and they also make for some spectacular photos, especially in those colonies that they have. And they're so active flying in and out, but the colors are just phenomenal. And with the contrast between the side of the riverbank where they do the nesting, it really makes for some great photography, but it's not easy photography, especially when they start diving in and out of the water to bathe. And then we can get these great opportunities of them entering and exiting the water again. And then sometimes when the light doesn't play with us, then we start getting a little bit more creative and we start shooting backlit. And with post editing, we fix those. Going over to other birds, endemic species to the Chobe, the pied kingfisher. There's this one specific stump where they almost were on the daily, so we almost guaranteed for them to be there and then interacting with each other, making some spectacular photos. Now, this was also just after the thunderstorm, where this one specific one we found by Chobe Game Lodge on the stump, beautiful background, shaking off the water, and just gave us some great opportunities. Now, this one was quite interesting as the one on the top right gave this fish to the one on the bottom. Now, at that stage, the one took flight and then came back And the one at the bottom tried to give it back to the top one, but the top one didn't want to take it back for some reason, which was quite interesting, and it made for some good photography. Giant kingfisher with its catch, beating it, tenderizing the fish, malachites, beautiful malachites during that time of year. I didn't get as many. New, I think, got a lot more than I did, but they always make for some good photography and not the easiest of photography, especially those little bullets that they have. White-faced whistling duck, as it took flight, came to land again. Black heron with a catch, the Egyptian geese, little bee eaters, white-tailed swallows. Red bishops gave us some good photography as well. And then this was also quite special. The one day when we didn't have the best light at Elephant Valley, we had these red-billed firefinches, and they landed at the bottom. And what was quite nice to see was the male and the female together. Now, this is just my one little story that I want to tell as well, is that as we passed, we saw this predator in a tree, and we couldn't make out the first time what it was. So it took us about a good half an hour to identify it properly. And then at the end, we finally successfully got it as a pale morph booted eagle, which was quite nice because it was the first of a species for me. I haven't seen one before, but especially in a Chobe, I think it was the first one that I think I saw there. Red dove, some squawkos, cormorants, and then let's just go to the last couple, and then I'm going to hand over to Ilana. Some baboons, beautiful light playing, golden light in the tree. The one decided to go, then this one decided, okay, I'm also disappearing. Got these buffaloes in the water with a beautiful light. Initially thought we was attacked by a predator, but then Neil corrected me and said, no, it's probably two males that got into tussle with each other, but you can see deep wounds, beautiful light still on them. And that's it from me for now. So I'm going to hand over to Ilana.
Right, here we go. Good evening, everyone. Hope you can see me. I had a couple of things wanted to say, but you got that. So thanks for joining us. I hope everyone is well. And let me just share what I want to share with you tonight. The brief for tonight was very simple. We go to the Chobe and we share short stories. So what you've seen from Niku's photos now, great sequences, a lot of diversity. I was in Chobe from the 7th to the 10th of April. That gives you more or less 8 sessions on the river. The biggest challenge, I think, for any photographer is when you don't have light. We chase light, and with light comes opportunities and sightings. And when there's no light, which we experience for a good 4 sessions out of the 8, your photography becomes very, very challenging. So my story is a little bit different tonight in the sense that I'm not necessarily going to share sequences. I want to show you what I could get in 2 days. So that was my challenge. We went out every session, and here's the key. Never say, never die. So even if the light's not great, you go out because you never, never, ever know what you're going to get. And sometimes you only need 5 minutes of great light to capture wonderful stuff, because that is what nature is all about. It always surprises you in ways that you never would have expected. So the highlight of this time of the year, as Nick has explained, is the jacanas, because it coincides with the breeding season for them. So I'm going to share with you my jacana images. We literally had an afternoon of good light, and then we had one morning. So the images that you see now is of the dad. And I think the little heroes of the trip was the 2-day-old chicks that Neil discovered while he was there a couple of days before. He was on a nest, and whilst he was there, these chicks hatched, and he said to me, look, they're very calm, they're very relaxed. And what a special morning we had with the dad doing his thing, looking for food, and he will fly off, come back. And therein lies a little bit of understanding of behavior, is to see it will fly off and it will come back because it's leaving the chicks. It's not going to leave it for permanently. It will definitely come back. So if you sit there and you just spend some time and you get mesmerized by the wonder of these little special birds, you get to understand the behavior. So once again, the dad's off going foraging a little bit away from the chicks, but you don't have to wait long and it will come back. Now, these most probably were the chicks that Nico referred to in his images, where he said they were like a week old. When I was there, they definitely were a little bit older. So we just had these chicks, I would say they're about now like 15 centimeters high, just doing their thing. There's a fly, it's looking for some food. I love the flower. Sometimes you forget to photograph these jacanas because they are just absolutely so, so special. And to have been able to witness them so small, I mean, I've been to Chobe a couple of times, and to get them so tiny, this is literally, I would guess, about not even 8 centimeters, and they're doing their own thing. This is what's, I think, makes them so unique, is that they are, as Nico also explained, prococial. So they are able to feed themselves and move independently almost immediately. So the minute they are hatched, they can move off and find food and walk around on the lilies. Just have a look, you'll see the bugs on the leaf there, and it's just walking, and these little feet adapt to do what they do best. I have to say, one of the most special moments I've had on the Chobe, to see Jacana chicks that small. And then obviously, if you look around, you'll find the dad. There's the chicks under the wing. Very special to see. As they get older, they almost compete for space, but there's not a lot left under the wing. So you'll see a little one. There's a little one just picking its head under the wing. Once again, very, very, very special. Gorgeous little birds. Dad's coming in, wandered around a bit, coming to check on his chicks. There's another one just doing what it does. There's a bug. He's zoning in, he's focusing, the two of them. And what was special about this sighting is we had 4. And you ask me, why don't I have 4 in my image or an image? It's quite challenging to get 4 of them sharp. You know, we shoot with long lenses. I mean, if I put on my teleconverter, I'm looking at 1,200 millimeters on a full frame camera. Your depth of field, it's so minute that to get 4 of them, there was a stage where I remember I cranked up my aperture up to about 20. And it was literally like not even a centimeter between the front one and the back one, and I couldn't get all of them sharp. And then lies, I think, the advantage that you have with the Olympus gear, where it's micro four thirds, that with a shallow aperture, you'll get much more depth. I think for me, the challenge is now I've got to crank the settings in my camera to the fullest. So ISOs, in my case, in good luck like this, I'll go 6,400 so that I have shutter speed, so that I can have depth of field, because in this particular image, I was shooting this at around f18, so that the leaves and the bird sharp. There's the little fellows doing their thing again, looking for food, wandering around on the lilies. And what they will do is, you'll see it's got its foot or its claws up on the leaf. It will stomp on it to get rid of the bug. So as soon as it stomps on it, the bug will fly up and then it gets its food. There's the dad with 2 chicks. How gorgeous is that? That was my images of Jacanas I wanted to share with you, but I think herein lies the wonderful destination and the magic that we have in Chobe, is that when you set off and you go find different subjects to shoot. And I know everyone will agree with me, Nico and Neil. We will often set off to Elephant Valley because you'll find things to shoot there. Why Elephant Valley? Elephant Valley derived its name. It's very obvious. You'll find herds and herds of elephant coming down to Elephant Valley. But this time was different for me. Usually we will find a lot of baboons. We'll find a lot of elephant. We parked there one afternoon. Light was like challenging, but this one particular afternoon with this baboon shot, light was great. But we had a couple of baboons and we had a couple of elephant. Not a lot, not as usual. The thing is, there's always something, even if it's not a lot, doesn't have to be hundreds of baboons, tenths of baboons. There will be a baboon photo in there. There will be an elephant photo in there. So what I'm showing you is, guys, this is literally 2 days on the Chobe. The diversity you cannot compare to any other destination that I know of. Many of these images were not where we were parked at an area and you get these where you sit and wait. This is as we go. This particular image, yes, it was on a tree stump, it was on a perch, it flew off, and we were able to follow, track it, get the shots. But images like these are as we go along, as you move along the river on the boat, things happen. You have to be attentive. You have to be alert. That's the wonderful thing if you understand that these things don't only happen where we park, sit, and wait. It's there all the time. A very good tip on this is sometimes one tends to look through the viewfinder and you focus on the data on the right. Have both eyes open because that gives you peripheral vision. This reed cormorant coming in from the left, I had enough depth of field. It came in together. I took the shot. So always be aware of your surroundings. This is sacred ibis, flew overhead. Once again, these are things that happen on the boat while we are moving. Yes, it's great if you sit at the sighting and you wait and things happen. That's the easy. Well, I don't want to call it easy, but that's easier because you are already, you're in a good position. You can anticipate this image. And I saw Nico's images. Hippo, we didn't get a lot of hippo action. This image is where I want to show you where depth of field is very important. Get everything sharp. You want to get the grass in front sharp. You want to get the grass at the back sharp. Get it sharp. So even with your long lenses, this was not taken with a wide angle lens. This was taken with, I think, 200 focal length. You got to get it sharp. Sharp means up the apertures, get it small, f16, 18, 20. How do we get the shutter speed? By not being afraid of cranking our ISOs. Black heron was operating there in a little pond. Difficult to get it in the open. There were a lot of grass, a lot of busy backgrounds. But if you're patient and you sit and you wait, you will get the shot. Once again, this was in flight as we were moving along the river. We always try and take our time when we cruise along the river banks, going from one destination to another. And the reason for that is because situations like this do occur when things fly by. Malachite kingfisher, I didn't have a lot of opportunities. I think that was the only one we had, with the malachite sitting in the reeds along the river bank going to the lodge. One afternoon or morning, we got the kingfisher. This is also in flight. You cruise along the riverbank, the squawker goes up, and you've got to be ready. You've got to set yourself up for success. It's got to be there. High shutter speeds, depth of field. Don't be afraid of your ISOs. These images, all ISO 6400, that is where I am now, almost by default. And so don't be afraid. Iconic fish eagle, gave us a great opportunity on a very, very beautiful perch, going down the riverbank towards Elephant Valley. It always gets clients excited if they get a great shot of a fish eagle. This was about 2 days into the trip. When we started out, I had a client that was shooting like 2,500 shutter speed. I had this battle for him to understand, get it up, get it up. We got to work high shutter speeds. When this fish eagle took off, he was on 5,000. By average, my shutter speed was in there, and understand we had bad light also, was around 16,000 of a second. So great for him. He was up to 5,000 and he got good images of the fish eagle. This is where the penny dropped when he said to me, I've got the wings sharp, everything is sharp, the tips of the wings are sharp. And I said, there you go, you've got to work the shutter speed. Once again, a hippo that just popped its head out of the water. Boat was moving along. This was also in flight. In flight, heron taking off. There was a great egret doing some fishing. And then this image, I turned it into a black and white. It was a very, very gray afternoon. We had a discussion while I was there because Neil was also there, and we were a bit frustrated with the weather. And I remember Neil saying, you know what, we go out, we never know what we will get. I so agree with that, you never do. And when I shot this, it was really, really bad light. I should have had the original here so that you could see it was grayish, dark, dull. I always tell my clients, you know, if it's bad weather, think black and white. Tell me if you like it or not. This is very much a sign of changing of the seasons. When you see the branticles, they will come over in like storms, take off, sit, take off, sit. But this is a very good sign that winter is coming. This was a comb duck swimming along. Buffalo, we had some light on them late afternoon. Got the oxpecker. There's a pied kingfisher taking off again. And technology is putting us in a great position to nail these shots. I think a highlight for me, because I've never experienced this before, were the lions at Elephant Valley. Now, usually before, when I encountered lions on the Chobe, and I have to be honest, haven't been many times, it would usually be more towards Chobe River Lodge. You will find them there, and I think the previous afternoon we did see them there. We couldn't get close. They were in the distance, checking out some buffalo. The next afternoon, we got to Elephant Valley, and Neil said, look, there's some lions in the vicinity. And here comes this female down to Elephant Valley. They were joining, the whole pride of lion were joining. There was some youngsters, some cubbies, young cubs, younger adults. I got some great shots here. This is special to me. They were lying literally in a, like the one hill was coming down, the other one, and they were lying in the back. And to get in the right position was a little bit difficult. But as you can see, there was great interaction. Usually we'll stay there until dark, and then my guide will say, listen, we have to go. Then the next day you will hear about lions at Elephant Valley. So this was definitely a highlight. And once again, this was photography in, to be very honest with you, in 2 days, 4 sessions. On our way back, that same afternoon where it was dark and the rain were chasing us, those 5 minutes that I was referring to in the reeds, there's a stone chat. We had a Chicana baby and a red bishop. And so never underestimate the magic of Chobe. It always delivers. There's my group. I thank every one of them. It was a blast. And so, Neil, you're up.
Thank you very much for joining. I see there are a few members of our groups that were on the Chobe with me. Of the images I selected tonight, and I'm not going to go through all 658, to show you, there was a question about shutter speed. Ilana goes on the ISO 6400. I'm trying to get there, not always reluctantly, but I'm trying to get there. So most of my images are being shot now at 3200 ISO, and that generates a lot of shutter speed for me. You can see most of my images are 5,000ths of a second and above. And on this side, well, it's basically from f9 onwards. That's where I am. So let me just share a few images with you. I want to start here with this malachite. I was lucky enough to be there for close on 20 days. This was on the, shall I say, almost on the trip just before the official trip started, where we had this malachite kingfisher, very, very calm, catching insects. And I'm just going to scroll through this reasonably quickly. And then it flew up to another reed, sat there, and then it flew onto the boat. And it sat there on the boat looking around, and it dived down and came up and sat about 1.5 meters, 2 meters away from me with the spider. It proceeded to bang it on the side. Beautiful, so relaxed. I was just sitting there. My feet were actually on the rail with this guy, and he was just going about his business. And this was one of my most special malachite sequences. You can see he's very relaxed and down the hatch. I'm going to cover some of these baboon shots because we just spoke about the baboons. And when you sit around the baboons, there's always something happening. And there's guys making trouble with others, guys playing, fighting. And when they start playing, it gets a bit out of hand, like the youngsters do. And this one's got the one by the ear. And there's a lot of screaming and carrying on. And with the camera technology that you get nowadays, it's nice to get fast sequences and you really get to choose some of the images. You can see there's a lot of action. And they just enjoy it. They just go about their business. And as soon as the one stops playing with the other one or fighting with him, there's somebody else that needs to be disciplined. These guys were quite angry with each other. A lot of fighting there towards the top. And I'm going to end off with this sequence of the baboons. This guy was going for him, and the other guy was trying to get out his way as fast as he could. So that's from a baboon point of view. But you know, when you sit there, it's just keep on looking around. Try and anticipate what's going to happen. See one's coming along, and he's going to grab somebody. Normally these drongos, this is a fork-tailed drongo, they were actually picking up small insects from the surface of the river. One or two of them actually went down and had a dip. This happens very, very quickly, and that's why you need the shutter speed and the f-stops to go along with that. So you can see there, he's just picked something off the surface. And it's great fun trying to shoot them. Somebody once said to me, they're not even going to try. This is higher grade work. But when you actually get some of these images to stick, then it's really, really satisfying. So that was the drongos. Something special also there at Elephant Valley. You sat watching the elephants. Next moment, the stickney just ran up the bank, grabbed a toad, and then came running down with it. Proceeded to hit it on the ground, and then he swallowed it right in front of us. But once again, that happens very, very quickly. You have to be ready. You have to be comfortable with what you're shooting. And this was probably also F11, F13 around there to make sure that it's sharp from the tail right to the tip of the toad's feet. We share a few of these images with you. This is white-fronted bee eaters coming in, diving into the Chobe River, popping out. Now that's one sequence. Here's another one. There's a nice bank where they hang around, and every now and then one goes down and goes for a dip because they're busy in the bank, and it's dust and everything on the feathers. As you can see, you know, when they come out of the water there, you need fast shutter speeds to freeze those wings. What we had here was lot of dragonflies around. So the guys would fly off, come back, and toss these dragonflies in the air before they swallow them. Makes for really, really nice photography. And this guy caught some bugs on the bank. He came back to his nest to feed it to one of his chicks. Another fishing expedition was the Squacco Heron one evening. On the way back to the lodge, you see this guy's in the water, so I just watch him for a while. He goes down, catches it, looks like a frog. There's that one. And then what we went there for is these Jacana babies. So when Nico was there, he said there's a nest. I went to the nest every day. And no chicks had hatched, parked a little way away from the nest, so the father got used to the boat and just kept on going there every day. And then one afternoon we went there and we saw the dad's up, and he was actually carrying something under the wing. There was these four guys, and they are absolutely tiny, you know. So I think an adult male jacana is 125 grams. So you can imagine what these guys weigh and how small they are. So long lenses, good shutter speed, and even if you get close to them, you need a lot of depth of field. You can see all the food around there, but they go and they pick the smallest little insects and flies. Here's one of a baby hunting, walked across the leaves, caught a little moth or insect, flying insect, but you can see there by the size of the jacana chick, the size of the lily, how small it actually is. There you can make it out a little bit better. As a bigger one, it's the other nest that they found. This one had a moth that it actually caught. See, enjoying a meal there. So they feed themselves from very, very young. Then one of the highlights was also on bigger jacanas and finding an area where they're moving around and where they have to jump and run, and the background's nice. So we got these guys one afternoon, and they really made for some spectacular photographs. Some of the background almost looks unreal, but that's the water, that's the Chobe, and just reflection of the brush, the bushes and so on around, all the greenery. That one to me is one of them, really spectacular. Then this one, interesting. We all try and get there. We try and get them jumping. And I've got a whole sequence of this one. You'll see how he goes about it. Splashes into the water, and then he's got to climb out the other side. But yeah, they don't hang around. They go very, very quickly. I've got another one of him actually catching an insect. Can't really make out what it is. Thought it was a little fish, but it's not, like a dragonfly or something. It's that one. And then, as you heard, the dad, he's the guy that's looking after the chicks. These are actually those ones that were just after they were hatched. We got to see them briefly, but he was just carrying them around. I think he was drying them out because they look like little black spiders when they come out of those eggshells. But he has got to go about his business. He's got to feed. He's got to eat. He can't wait for these guys the whole time. So he goes about his business, but he's just got them tucked up under his wings. This was the next morning. We got, look at all those feet just hanging out there. I said to the one group, this is like the Oscars of Chobe, if you can get these little babies there. And this dad, he was chasing a spider, and the spider nearly got away from him. You see, he tried to nail it there, missed it. The spider was still going, still chasing, still chasing. Eventually, he managed to grab it. So there's another meal for him. So yes, just a few images of the babies. And then the dad stands on a leaf and they go and climb in under his wings. And at some point when he's had enough, he's going to drop them. And you see them fall out there. I mean, they fell out so hard and disturbed the lily that the other one also fell over in the back there. But these are the kinds of images that you get if you're just patient, watch the behavior, watch what they're doing, and just enjoy it. I mean, I think I shot 10 or 11,000 images just on this morning. Here's another one with the dad with the bigger chicks. Also, same story, just dropped them straight under the wing. There they go, falling all over the show. The light wasn't great, but managed to get a few shots. You did see a few images of the oxpeckers one afternoon when we were returning back to the lodge. There was a huge herd of Cape buffalo that were lying next to the river. Nice high aspect, and there were just oxpeckers everywhere, and the light was just perfect on them. So we shot an incredible amount of images just of oxpeckers. So when you get to the Kruger or these places next time and you see oxpeckers, I mean, don't just pass them by. See if you can get some images. Share that one with you. And then, of course, these guys, these pied kingfishers. Oh, I love them. I love photographing them because they're fast, they're reasonably predictable. If you come up on one and he's about to dive, they normally dive about 3 times when they're bathing. If you miss the first one, you might get a second bite. You see, there's one sequence. This one's got a few more. You can see him going. And you get to all the fine detail and stuff if you're ready. You see, it looks so fluffy. Just going to scroll a bit faster. There we go. It's fantastic. And you look at the images and you think, okay, which ones do I keep and which ones do I throw away? And in this instance, I keep most of them. So let's have a look. Last one, another guy going in, coming out. You see the lights great. Also up there in the upper part of the Chobe, there's a few stumps and branches sticking out where they like to perch. There goes that one. So here's a jacana dad, and down here at the bottom was a frog. And this frog escaped this dad. You see, he's going for it. He's trying to get away, trying to get away. And he actually just made it into the water before the dad. This dad catches a spider. So fish eagles and lapwings. Lapwings hate the fish eagles. So when the fish eagle goes and lands, keep an eye out because they attack them constantly. This guy just came time and time and time again. And they get so close. This one's actually touching his head. They brush them with their wings, just trying to get them away from their area. When the river was high like this, there were only a few patches of dry land where he could actually go and sit with his catch and eat it. But that was unfortunately too close to these guys, and they just kept harassing him until he left. Gymnogene, he stuck his foot there in a hole and he ate 2 or 3 chicks there. It was far away, so the images aren't great. We spoke about the long-toed lapwings. That's between them and the blacksmith plovers. They're there chasing each other, looking for the same type of nesting areas. So it's who's chasing whom, you know. Few elephants also. This big bull was so close to the side, and we got right under him with wide-angle lenses. But he was so smelly, so smelly. I mean, we could hardly sit there for long. These guys this time of the year go in, get the grass out the water, really enjoy it. Because later in the year, it's going to be so hard again for them. They really enjoy this time of the year. Thing is to decide what you want to shoot and when do you want to stop. It's very difficult. This is also there at Elephant Valley. Just a little bit of another perspective. Youngster. And this is typically what happens with one family unit after the rest coming down. And the guy's really enjoying the water. And they'll wait for the one family unit to leave before the next one comes down. But also just try and get in there, get close to the action, whatever's happening. Okay, so Monique said we took a lot of pictures. I mean, 10,000, 8,000 images a day. I think that's probably where I ended up. So I think the 170 odd for the group is conservative, given that we've deleted. On one of the groups, one of the guys alone took 75,000 images over 4 days. So many opportunities. I think just one more that I want to share with you. When the light's difficult, take the shot and go and work it afterwards. Bit of backlight. Thank you very much for that. We do have some seats open still for this year in June and July, either 3 or 6 night options. And then we are open now for 2026 dates. You can see the dates there. And we have early bird specials, which you can contact us. We will give you the rates. But that's typically the scene that we had, Ilana, when we were shooting those babies. You guys were in the other boat and we were shooting from here. So yeah, it was really, really nice. Thank you very much for joining us. I really appreciate your time.